Hi everyone, welcome to Cooking with SK. I made this lovely pretty handbag cake and it's supposed to give like an illusion of a real handbag, but it's actually a cake. So you've guessed it right, it's a cake, lol. But anyway, I made this cake and it was a bit of a challenge, but we got there eventually. So I'm gonna show you step by step how I made this cake, and let's get right into it. So I have my cake board, I have my vanilla sponge, and I'm just gonna add some buttercream here to my cake board. I'm just adding my first layer of vanilla sponge and I'm just gonna press this down. By the way, the measurements of this sponge cake I will give in the description box below, so you can check that out later. So I'm just adding some raspberry jam. You can add some strawberry jam, whichever you like. And after that, I'm just adding some buttercream. Some people like to put buttercream on before the jam. It's entirely up to you how you find this easy. As long as you get it in, I think that's what matters. So after I've just applied this buttercream and leveled it, we're going to add the second layer of sponge cake like this and just going to press it down. Adding some buttercream again, and you just repeat this cycle. Just adding some jam. I don't like too much jam in my cake, so it's up to you how much you put in. And I'm going to add my other layer and try and keep them in line with one another so they're not tilting or they're quite secure. You have to remember, if the size of the cake are too wide, that's okay, but if they are not too wide, your cake can tilt and you might need to put some dowels in your cake. But mine was quite wide enough, so I didn't really have to put any dowels in. And now moving on to the carving of the cake, I'm just carving on the side of the cake, just tilted my knife and then started cutting downwards. I'm doing the same with the other side. And you will find that there will be a lot of cake left over. You can use this for cake pops or for another time, or if you've got children like me, you can give them to the children and I'm sure they'll love to taste these remaining cakes. So once you've carved this side of the cake, you move on the opposite side and then just check with eye level if your cake seems to have the right shape. If it needs correcting, then just carry on carving, but try to carve less of your cake, because if you carve too much of the cake, then you won't get your cake back. So just be a bit careful. I've just cleared my worktop and now we're adding buttercream to my handbag cake. So I'm happy the way the cake looks. It looks the shape of a handbag. If you're not happy, then just continue to carve your cake. So I'm adding some buttercream all around the cake. I started from the top and worked my way downwards. This is the easiest way for me, and I'm going to turn around and do the other side. So just applying some generous amount of buttercream, and if there's any gaps or holes, just cover them. Now I'm just smoothing the whole cake and making sure that the edges are nice and defined and sharp, and this will give you a very clean look at the end of your handbag. So if you smooth the buttercream very nicely, then the outcome will be a lot better, you will find. Last bit, I'm just doing the side of this cake here, just adding some buttercream and then just smoothing nicely up and down, trying to get it nice and smooth. Day one was mostly covering the cake and frosting the cake, and day two was moving on to using the fondant and covering the cake with fondant and adding your final decorations. So this is day two. I'm rolling my fondant, or royal icing they can call it, and I'm trying to make it as thin as possible, just adding it onto the cake. And I'm just using forgotten what this tool is called. Can you remind me, somebody? But anyway, I'm using this tool to smooth the sides. Oh yes, I think it's a smoother. So once the cake is smoothed out nicely, I'm just going to add the sugar paper, which is edible paper, which I'm going to show you shortly. Here it is. So I'm just pressing on the cake to see if it's covered the whole cake. So I've just got a brush and I've damped it with water, and we're just applying this to the cake so that this edible paper will stick on. You have to be very careful here and ensure that you've angled your paper correctly, because once you've applied it, it can rip if you try to pull it apart. So try and get it right the first time, and just take your time, because there's no rush. And now paper number two, I'm just doing the sides and cutting off the edges. So we're going to apply this to the side of the cake, the edge here. So just applying some water, not too much water, because then your paper might bleed and you don't want that to show. So just applied just a little bit of water, just enough that is needed, and I'm just smoothing it with my hands and a smoother, just like that. If you are going to attempt to make this cake, also remember when you're adding this paper that it's the right way up, because some guys have tried to attempt this cake and have added it the wrong way around. So once it's on, it's a bit difficult to get off. So I'm just cutting the sides of the edges here and smoothing it as I go along. I have a handbag strap here just to use as a guide, so that I can use the straps and apply them to the cake. So once I've cut the edges and it's nice and sharp, I'm ready to apply the straps on. Just add a little bit of water to where your strap is supposed to be joined on, and then apply your strap on gently. So I've already got one strap on already, and I'm just applying this other strap nicely. Just press gently and then cut off any excess. Using my fingers just to shape it a bit in towards the cake, so it gives a nice shape edge to your cake, to your handbag, just pressing inwards. And I have this tool as well, which is a stitcher tool, so I'm going to use this just to apply some stitches onto my handbag. And I'm just moving my hand forward gently in a straight motion and just following the edges of the strap like this. Now I'm just going to put a strap at the top. Just applied some water with the brush, and I'm just applying gently. This is going to be the zip. Now I'm doing the bottom of the cake. So for the bottom of the cake, my strap was slightly thicker because this is how I wanted it. You can keep it the same size, and I just applied this on like this gently. Use your tools to just neaten and add some stitches to your strap. I'm working all around the cake, working my way around like this. This is the part of the cake that everybody will see, so I suggest you take your time with adding the straps on and just try and make it as neat as possible. If you do make a mistake, then take your straps off again and just try to put them back on in a nice straight line. I'm just cutting any excess off there. As time went on, I actually felt like I was making a real handbag, and I can imagine, well, I can't imagine how long it must take making a real handbag like this, but yes, it did take quite a lot of time and patience. So if you have patience, then definitely give this a try and let me know how you get on. I also had a handbag nearby, so I could just use as a guide. I'm just adding the zip here, as you can see, and I just applied some water, just a little bit, and pressed it along the cake, and just bring it down so you can have a closer look. So I didn't have a zip mold, so I used a fork just to so that it looks like a zip, and I think I got away with it. No one noticed. So if you don't have a mold, which I don't have yet and I have to order yet, you can also use a fork just to kind of make it look like a zip and just press in like that. I'm just adding some gold edible paint at the top. And just adding the buttons, just pressing them in to do a nice little round ball, tiny one, and then use your hands to make into a round ball and just press down like this. And then we're going to press this onto the handle and paint them gold as well. Just press it in like this, and same for the other side. So you can keep your board silver if you're happy, but I just wanted to go that extra step forward, so further, and I thought, okay, I'll just put a bit of fondant here. So I wanted a white board, and so I just used this. Use a smoother on the top and try not to press too much into the cake, just be careful, just cutting the excess off like that. And then the back of the cake, do exactly the same. Try and cut a straight line and ensure that it's just under the cake, and then just use a smoother, cut off the excess like this, and fill in any gaps. You don't have to do this if you don't want, you can just keep your board as it is. And I have a pin, and I also have a lovely pink ribbon just to give it a bit of oomph factor, and I'm just going to take that around the cake board and pin it in like so, which was a little bit tricky, but we got there eventually. And seems to be okay, and there you have it, my designer handbag. I hope you liked it. It took me about 2 to 3 days with editing and actually making this cake, so I would appreciate it if you could just subscribe to my channel for more fun videos, and it will only take you a couple of seconds to just press that subscribe button. So please do press that subscribe button, and you will see some more videos that you can learn from me. Thank you very much for watching my video, and that's bye from Samina. Thank you. Bye.